Danell Balenji is a super athlete. In triathlon and endurance sports, her reputation is legendary. Several times national and world champion. It's no wonder she's just earned the title US Athlete of the Year for the 6th time. For Danell, giving up is not an option, as paramedic John Marshall is about to discover.
My first meeting of Danell, she just ran 60 miles across open desert in 115-degree temperature before she got to the checkpoint that I was working at. This small-framed woman comes into the med booth. Her feet are blistered, she's completely dehydrated, somewhat delirious, and I said, hey, we would highly recommend we start an IV in you, get some fluids back in you.
You're gonna need this.
No, just a drink and some duct tape.
This kind of sets the mode for my involvement with Danell. I learned that this girl, right from the get-go, was as hard as nails. This was a true athlete to the fullest extent. They say to be a great adventure athlete, first and foremost, you have to be hard to kill. Danell was hard to kill.
It was December 13th, 2006, and I was at my house in Moab. The winter season was approaching, and I was wanting to get in shape for the snowshoe racing season and also to compete in some winter triathlons.
Oh, hey, Tess. Give me a minute, okay? Just give me a minute.
So I was to head out on about a 2 or 2.5 hour run, and I kind of had one of my favorite loops in mind. I hadn't done this loop in a while.
Okay, all right. Okay. I get the message. All right, let's go.
One of the world's premier extreme sports athletes, Danell is known for staggering feats of endurance in adventure racing. Single and living alone, her constant companion is her dog, Taz.
I got Taz from a puppy rescue. I remember going to the shelter and there were several puppies there. This one puppy sort of stood out.
Hi.
Because he was energetic and he liked to run around and he was hyper and he had this real playful attitude about him that I liked. I sort of connected with that.
Look at this one.
Oh, you're cute.
Oh.
And I remember some other lady went up to Taz and was holding him. And I looked at this lady and that's my dog. He wasn't my dog just yet, you know, but I just knew that he was the one. And then so I kind of kept an eye on this lady while she was playing with Taz. And as soon as she set him down, I snatched him up and said, I want this one. There's something that drew me to Taz, that I knew that he was the one for me.
I need you to help me.
With Taz for company, Danell is planning a routine training run through Moab's backcountry. It's a beautiful but rugged wilderness where few people ever go.
It was a sunny day, but it was cool, probably temperatures in the 30s, around 30 degrees Fahrenheit. I had my kayak on top of my truck, hopefully planning on going kayaking later that afternoon. I didn't see any bikers or hikers out, just myself and Taz.
Come on, Taz.
I brought my water bottle. At the last minute, I thought, well, I'll grab this little waist pack so I don't have to carry the water bottle in my hand. That way I could just put the water bottle in the waist pack. And it was a small waist pack with 2 zipper pockets. I didn't know what was in those pockets. I just grabbed it, and whatever was in there from my previous run was in my waist pack. And I headed out on the run.
Let's go.
I had absolutely no idea that my life was going to completely change that day.
Come on, boy.
Despite its beauty, the backcountry surrounding Moab can be hostile and dangerous. Just in the last month, 2 men have fallen victim to the deadly terrain, found frozen to death in the bitter desert night. Search and rescue teams are called out regularly to save hikers in distress. But Danell is fearless. 6 times the winner of US Athlete of the Year, she thrives on pushing herself to the limit in the most extreme environments.
I was actually in pretty good physical condition that I usually could push myself right to that limit of pain, but not quite go over it. It actually almost feels good, like you get into the rhythm, get into the flow.
Out for that.
Danell's training route is not marked on any map. And with every step, she's heading further into uncharted territory.
All of a sudden, the next thing I know, Taz was ahead of me, and my foot slipped out from under me. I almost immediately knew that I was in trouble because I couldn't stop. And I was moving fast at that point. And then the last 20 feet were an overhang. Free fall. I definitely had time to see my life kind of spin through my head and think about maybe I wasn't going to see another day. And then boom. Oh my God, I'm still alive. I didn't know what I had done to myself, but I knew I had hurt myself pretty bad.
It's a horrendous fall. The impact has shattered Danell's pelvis into pieces, leaving her skeleton severed in 2. There's nothing but soft tissue connecting her legs to the rest of her body. Super athlete Danell goes into survival mode.
Somehow my brain didn't allow itself to think too deeply about what had happened.
Despite her terrible injuries, Danell's endurance training kicks in, and she's determined to keep moving.
So what I did was I took my right hand and put it on my right leg, and my left hand and put it on my left leg, and I could feel my legs. And so I knew that I wasn't paralyzed. And my next reaction was, I gotta get out of this canyon. I gotta get back to my truck, and I gotta get home, or I gotta get to the hospital.
Incredibly, despite her shattered pelvis, the endurance athlete tries to stand up and run out of the canyon. But with her skeleton effectively in 2, Danell's legs cannot support her body. Unable to walk or run, she's facing her worst nightmare. Her legs useless, she's alone on a ledge, separated from her dog, Taz. Danell is stranded in 1,000 square miles of barren, uninhabited wilderness.
I knew that I needed to get out of that canyon. The temperatures were cold, and it was the middle of winter. But I couldn't stand up, I couldn't walk. So I just started dragging myself.
With her skeleton broken in 2, shattered at the pelvis, Danell is critically injured. Most people would be in agony, but super fit athlete Danell is experiencing an enormous adrenaline surge, masking the pain. But the problem for Danell now is which direction to go. She's no idea if there's a safe way down from the ledge. Taz comes to Danell's rescue.
Taz, there you are.
Taz has found her way back through the canyon to reach her. She is no longer alone. But Taz's appearance brings more than comfort.
Since he had gotten to where I landed, I knew that there was a route out. So I used him as my guide and kind of dragged myself where he went, along the shelf and then back down to the bottom of the canyon.
With incredible determination, Danell follows Taz to the bottom of the canyon and now plans to pull herself back to her truck. But as the adrenaline surge wears off, the pain is starting to take a hold.
It would take all my energy to sort of drag myself an inch. And then the pain would be so bad I would have to regroup and try it again.
Time is working against Danell. She knows the dangers of this remote wilderness, and that if she doesn't reach safety by nightfall, the sub-zero temperatures could kill her. With her energy slipping away, Danell remembers her waist pack.
I didn't know what was in that waist pack because I didn't check before I left. And in one of them was a little gel pack, sugar pack, that endurance athletes often bring with them to help provide energy for running.
Eating the gel provides Danell with a much-needed boost, as well as a moment to reflect on the colossal task she's taking on. But her progress is excruciatingly slow.
At one point, I looked back at my tracks and I could just see where I dragged myself through this canyon. It took me probably 2.5 hours just to get to the bottom, dragging myself inch by inch. The canyon that took me maybe 2 or 3 minutes to walk up.
The only comfort Danell has is her dog's constant companionship.
Taz was with me this whole time. I think he probably realized that I was injured. I think he was kind of wondering why I was going so slow.
As the winter sun sets, the temperature is dropping below freezing. Daylight is fading fast, and with it, any chances of getting out of the canyon before nightfall.
This is my last chance, Taz. Go!
And he turned around and he took off.
Taz is her only hope. But Danell knows that by sending him away, she may now face death alone. With little time to spare, Moab Rescue Operations Chief John Marshall arrives at the Amasa backcountry search area first.
The backcountry here in southeastern Utah doesn't play any favorites. It's a beautiful, awe-inspiring landscape, but it also is deadly.
There's a dog down there. You see him?
Yeah, I got him.
Taz has found his way out of the canyon and is heading towards the search party. But as he races towards them, John fears the worst.
I know my dog will never leave my side as long as I have a pulse. So to see her dog down in the bottom of the canyon for the first time, my heart dropped. It says, oh, this can't be a good sign. The dog has left its master.
As the rest of the search party arrives, Taz reaches the top of the canyon. But he doesn't stop, and his behavior is bewildering, particularly to experienced tracker Bego Gerhardt.
This bedraggled dog came running down the Jeep road and right through us. The odd thing was he didn't really want anything to do with us. Like he didn't walk up to the first person and go, feed me.
John Marshall knows that Taz could hold the key to finding Danell. But standard procedure dictates that he cannot delay the rescue operation any further.
Bego, you take the Massaback Trail and the ATV.
Bego Gerhardt is under no illusions about the enormity of the task facing them.
It's usually you're going to look for somebody that's just out after dark, or they broke their ankle and you pretty much know where they are. But this was a full-on search, had no idea within, say, 20 square miles, which is huge in this country with all the canyons and cliffs. 20 square miles can take a long time to cover.
It's time they simply don't have. As evening approaches, temperatures are already dropping. But Bego Gerhardt can't rush, for fear of missing a clue that may lead him to Danell.
As we went up, every time there was a sandy place, I'd look in the sand for tracks. And pretty soon I thought I found some tracks that could be 2 days old, and there were dog tracks along with the shoe prints.
Back at the search and rescue base, John is now sure that Taz is trying to tell them something.
This dog was on a mission, so it's almost as if it ran around and say, hey, look at me, I'm gonna get everybody's attention. Now I'll show you where she's at.
Where is he going?
All of a sudden, down in the bottom of the canyon, the dog reappears and headed back up the Massaback Trail. So I get on the radio and I radio over to the vehicles heading up the trail.
1T812 to 1T836. Hey, Bego, looks like the dog's coming your direction. Let him pass. Let's see where he's going.
I'm looking over my shoulder, and sure enough, Taz appears and takes off up over the hill. I'm going, you know, I think I should follow Taz for about 5 minutes just to see.
Okay, dog. Let's see what you know.
Time is running out. As nightfall approaches, a new threat to the rescue operation has emerged. Heavy snowfall is forecast, which Danell couldn't hope to survive. Following Taz may now be the last chance of finding Danell alive. Experienced mountain tracker Bego Gerhardt knows that Danell's dog could be her only real hope of survival.
I know to pay attention to dogs because they know stuff. So when he ran up over the hillside, I had a very strong feeling of I better follow him for a few minutes.
As Taz leads Bego deeper into the canyon, the going becomes more treacherous. Bego must slow the ATV and risk losing the dog's trail. Danell has no way of knowing that Taz has found help. She is resigned to dying out in the open. But when he returns, Danell senses a change in his behavior.
Next thing you know, Taz came up, and he came right by me, and he went straight to the puddle And he started drinking from my puddle. I remember thinking, that's my lifeline, that's the only water I got. Can't you find a different puddle, Taz? But I couldn't, I couldn't say that to him, and I just pet him a few times and let him drink from the puddle. And his demeanor had changed a little bit. He had seemed to get a little bit of energy back. And then he licked my face again, and he was kind of wagging his tail a little bit, and it was sad for me to see this happy little dog that I was never gonna be with. At the same time, I heard this other sound.
Help!
I wasn't hopeful because I had been screaming help for 50 some hours straight, and nobody had come to help me.
Help!
And just about the time I thought I was going to run out of road, I heard this blood-curdling scream.
Help!
I'll never forget it. And had to be Danell.
I can't move!
The sound got closer, and the engine cut out, and I start begging, desperate begging for help, explaining that I'm hurt, telling this person, you cannot leave, I need help, I need help.
Help! Help! Please help me!
It was the best moment of my life, because I knew right then that I was going to get a second chance. I knew I was going to make it.
And it was quite emotional, because not very often do you go on a rescue where somebody's life is really quite on the edge. The look on her face was one of relief, and then the tears came.
Next thing he said to me was, you got one good dog. And I just started crying. I just laid there and started crying.
I don't think any human could have survived another night in those temperatures.
Taz's extraordinary bond with Danell has saved her life.
Taz certainly did make the difference in shaving hours or perhaps even days off of finding Danell. And in this rescue, she didn't have hours or days to spare. She was on the brink as it was.
I knew Taz was a smart dog, but to be able to do what he did, this was a whole nother level of communication. Suddenly, my dog was taking care of me instead of me taking care of him. I look back on it now and I'm so grateful. He's truly a best friend.
Danell is airlifted to hospital and undergoes emergency surgery to repair the severed vessels that have pumped 3 pints of blood into her pelvic cavity. Then there's a 6-hour operation to pin her shattered pelvis back together. It's touch and go whether she'll pull through.
When we get the reports back to her medical condition, and all the doctors were saying, she really shouldn't be alive with the massive amounts of blood loss that she had, the hypothermia, the frostbite, everything combined. She should have been dead days ago. But here it is 2.5 days later, and she's smiling.
But there's another shock waiting for Danell when she gets to see her feet for the first time in 3 days.
Laying there in the hospital bed, and they had taken my shoes off, and I finally got a glimpse of my feet, and they were black from frostbite. Every single one of my toes and then part of my foot was black. With frostbite, you just have to give it time, and eventually over the next 24 hours, slowly but surely, the color started to come back in my toes, my feet, and so I knew I was gonna be able to, my feet were gonna be okay.
The prognosis for Danell's fractured pelvis was not so reassuring.
The doctor said that the injuries in my pelvis were pretty extensive, so I didn't know if I was going to be wheelchair bound the rest of my life or if I was going to be able to walk again.
Her life has been saved, but her body may be shattered beyond repair. Doctors fear she may never walk again. Against all the odds, the extraordinary determination that kept her alive in the canyon has now put her back on her feet again. After 6 hours in surgery and months of rehab, Danell is up and running.
I'm still able to do what I love to do. It's taken several months of recovery and rehab, but I'm back out running again, running the trails. Taz and I go out almost every day.
And Taz has a new playmate.
My son he's really a gift, and every moment with him I appreciate. And I think I appreciate him even more, knowing that, you know, he may have never been if it wasn't for Taz and all the people that, you know, were there to help me survive that experience.
Ken Hildebrand is packing for a solo trip into the Canadian Rockies in the depths of winter, and he knows it pays to leave nothing to chance.
Some guys on the rescue squad now call me Mr. Gadget because they always thought that I carried too much. And they used to always say, well, if we need to go out on a rescue, we always want to be paired up with Ken because he never gets lost, he always knows where he's at, and he can survive.
Yeah, no, I'm going up to Bob Creek to collect some traps. But, you know, I should be back in time, give or take an hour or 3.
The survival expert regularly heads into the mountains alone and makes no firm plans about his return with his family and friends.
Well, listen, if I don't show, we'll do it when Lil's back, okay?
Ken is a registered animal trapper, and this trip is to check up on beaver traps that he set the day before.
We trap to keep a good, healthy population of animals. And beavers are a rodent. The goal is to try and keep beavers from overpopulating.
Ken loves the great outdoors, and nothing stops him from enjoying this vast wilderness, not even his disabled leg.
I had polio. I had over 20 operations when I was a child. I mean, I was never supposed to walk. I threw the braces away and everything else, and I said, I'm going to walk. I'm going to do whatever normal people do.
Getting around this remote region is a real challenge, and Ken's trusty steed is his 4-wheel quad bike.
The terrain is very rugged. The country is very mountainous. The hills are very, very steep. And there are a lot of places on my trap line that people, even that are good quarters, they wouldn't even tackle.
Today's ride is even more dangerous. Ken's bike is carrying a lot of extra weight.
My quad, without any fuel in it, and that weighs 600 pounds. The beavers, 35 and 50 pounds a piece. Then the 3 gallons of gas, yeah, pretty close to 1,000 pounds. A small pickup truck would probably weigh that.
The temperature drops below 0, and the wind picks up. So Ken calls it a day.
The wind was blowing at least 80 kilometers an hour. It was stuff blowing in my face as I was trying to drive. It was blowing up small rocks. All of a sudden, I felt this sharp pain in the eye, and I blinked, and I felt like a piece of grass in my eye, and Second I let go of my handlebars, I grabbed a hold of this piece of grass. And the bike started going up and over. I was on the way down and I could feel the bike was following me over. It's just that there was nothing I could do. It felt to me like I was fast enough that I was getting out of the way, but then, wham, it was so fast. It just knocked me right face first into the dirt. And then I felt this excruciating pain in my leg. I could feel my foot. I could feel my ankle just totally dislocating and the bones were breaking. I almost threw up just from the pain. The steel rack rammed me in the smaller part of the back and drove me down and knocked the wind out of me. The pain was from my ankle and in the calf of my leg. I couldn't push and lift myself enough to move the bike. No matter how I tried to move my legs, I couldn't.
The heavily laden quad has pinned Ken to the ground in the middle of nowhere. As a paramedic with the local rescue unit, Ken's first instinct is to try to assess the severity of his injuries.
I took my pulse. My pulse was at 160. It was bounding. I could feel, so my blood pressure must have been up high because I could really feel my pulse. My skin was pale. If I pinched it, it was slow to come back to normal. It took 5 seconds for my color to go back in my finger, so I knew that I was in shock. Pain and the anxiety was causing me to make my heart rate go up. So I knew I had to slow myself down so that I could rationalize, I could think properly.
Ken learned how to deal with pain as a child, fighting polio.
I kind of mentally block it out. It's amazing how much pain I can actually block out.
Ken cannot reach his legs, which took the full impact of the crash. And he can only imagine the kind of damage that's been done.
My first assumption was that, yes, I dislocated my ankle for sure, possibly crushed it. I thought that maybe I had done a lot of damage to my right knee because it hurt like hell. My polio leg is not very big. I can actually put my hand around it like this. When it smashed down into that ground, I thought for sure that knee was done.
The weight of Ken's quad bike and survival gear exerts enormous pressure on his injured legs, causing excruciating pain. It crushes his good right leg against his weaker polio leg, cutting off the circulation from his calf to his foot. Ken knows that to avoid permanent damage, he needs to act fast.
My first reaction was, I need to get out from underneath the quad, even if I've broken my leg. So I looked around and tried to see if there's any sticks or anything I could grab.
All of Ken's gear is still strapped to the quad. Only his axe has fallen clear during the crash. But it's tantalizingly just out of reach. Ken's survival instinct kicks in.
I always carry this fire starter around my neck and a compass on a string.
Getting his hands on the axe could mean the difference between life and death. To Ken, the axe is his only means of escape.
took me several tries or more to finally catch the butt of the axe handle. I thought right away, well, maybe I can use my axe as a leverage to push the quad off of me.
But, trapped face down, it's impossible for Ken to get enough leverage on the axe handle to lift the quad.
Now I think, okay, I'm stuck here. I'm actually trapped. But when you're in that situation, you got to try something, and if that don't work, you got to try something else. I was thinking, well, if I can reduce the weight on the quad, maybe I'll have a better chance of getting out from underneath it.
But every strike causes agonizing pain to Ken's injured body as he tries to knock the heavy gear from the quad.
And then I thought, if I can perhaps maybe pile the beaver up, stick the axe in there on the corner of the rack.
With the beavers under his arms, Ken's hoping the extra height will make a difference. It seems to be working. The quad moves a fraction of an inch.
It felt so good. I mean, it still hurt like hell, and it felt like the bones were broken, but at least that steady, constant pressure was relieved.
Fueled by adrenaline, Ken decides it's time for a make-or-break effort to free himself.
I've just broken my best chance of getting out of here, so what am I going to do now?
Ken is now completely trapped in this Canadian wilderness. He has to come up with another escape plan if he's going to survive.
Now I thought, okay, the axe is broke, the handle's not as long. Perhaps now I can get underneath there and chop and hack away some of the ground.
If Ken can loosen the soil beneath him, he might be able to work himself free. But weighed down by his quad and the equipment, it's a near impossible task.
You try chopping like this here in a little space. It's a challenge. Because I couldn't get underneath my leg. I kept trying to get underneath, but every time I tried to chop to get underneath it, I'd either hit the ground and the axe would ricochet into my leg, or I would just hit my leg.
Despite the pain, Ken simply refuses to surrender and accept his fate.
When you're caught in a survival situation like that, your attitude has so much to do with it. It's very easy to give up, to think that, oh, it's all despair, there's no hope. As long as you don't let those things get in your way and you stop and rationalize, it's surprising how many little things that you can do. I continued trying to figure out and evaluate some way that I could move that quad so that I could get one leg free. If I could get just one leg free, I can get out from underneath this thing.
Despite his ingenuity and effort, Ken begins to realize he may have to spend the night alone in the freezing Alberta mountains.
all your nerves at that point in time is raw. Your mind is going through a million things, like, how long is this going to last? I tried every which way possible and thought of what if I could do this, or if I could get that, or... After 5 hours, I had exhausted all my options.
Darkness is closing in. The Rockies at night are deadly, especially in winter when the temperatures can plummet to 20 below. Freezing cold winds rush down off the mountains, and these howling gusts play tricks with Ken's mind.
I'd hear something and I'd stop. Now, am I really hearing that, or am I not hearing that? Just before daylight, they came back.
The coyotes have returned, and this time they changed their tactics, closing in on Ken from behind. Unable to see them, Ken can only imagine their next attack.
You can hear them scratching, and you can, quick pitter-patters of feet. And then you hear a little yap. And then you can hear some more feet, so you don't know whether they're 200 yards away or whether they're right behind you. They were definitely excited, and they were getting each other excited.
As the coyotes move in for the kill, they discover one of the dead beavers that fell off the quad during the crash.
It sounded just like they were fighting over it. They sounded like they were a lot closer.
Now the coyotes have a taste for blood, and Ken fears he is next on the menu.
What's next? Are they going to get more aggressive?
The frenzy of noise seems to attract the attention of the dogs in the nearby farmhouse. But once again, high winds muffle the noise from human ears.
Perhaps if he would have let one of his dogs go, maybe they would have come to me.
The noise seems to scare off the coyotes for now. As day breaks, Ken has been trapped for nearly 40 hours. The chance of rescue remains so close, yet so far away.
Every time that I could hear the sound of the dogs barking, or I could hear the farmer opening the door, and I would blow the whistle, nothing would happen. It was very frustrating, damn frustrating to... What's going on? Why cannot something come my way for a change? Why can't my luck change? I'm the type of guy that, I've always been very independent, and this is the first time I found myself in a situation where I couldn't rely on myself to get myself out of it.
Ken's friends and family still have no idea he's missing, and no rescue operation has been launched.
I was down, definitely I was down.
As a paramedic, Ken knows his body is rapidly deteriorating.
I knew that shock was probably getting worse. My core body temperature was definitely dropping. My fuel intake was 0. was more concentrated on trying not to fade off and go to sleep. I knew that if I was going to survive at all, I had to stay awake. Just before dark again, the coyotes came back and there was a few more. I was so intent and focused on what these coyotes might be doing. One can only imagine and think because you can't see them, right?
It's Ken's third night trapped under the quad, exposed, dehydrated, and close to death. And this time, the coyotes have returned to hunt as a pack.
They're well versed at their attack tactics. They would have tried definitely for my face or my throat because that was the most exposed. If you're swinging one way, they would try to grab you from the back.
This pack have already tasted fresh meat, and they're craving for more.
If I couldn't scare them off with the whistle and hollering, my chances were very slim. Very slim.
Ken's outburst is just enough to fend off the coyotes. But if he has to spend another night out there, they'll be back, and he may not have the strength to fight them off for much longer.
For the full 4 days, I never slept. I consciously made sure that I kept myself awake because I know from experience the wind, the cold could kill me easily. My body was telling me it was a downward slide. My mental alertness wasn't there. My coordination wasn't as good as it could have been. So I knew all those things were telling me that my body is shutting down more all the time. For sure. My family was my primary focus. I can deal with whatever comes along. It's how can they deal with it? You know, how will it affect them? I thought that if I didn't make it, maybe while I still got my faculties together and I'm still able to write a message, I should write a message to them, just in case. Well, I told them I was sorry. And I loved them. I took my glasses off and I laid them in front of me, and I thought that, well, maybe, you know, just maybe I could get a little bit of rest. Finally, I actually closed my eyes.
On the fourth day of battling pain and fear, of forcing himself to stay awake, to fend off dangerous coyotes and hypothermia, Ken finally lets go.
That morning was a nice day for a walk, and I decided to take my dog to a particular area to visit friends. And looking at the beautiful hills and the mountains in the background, I changed my plans, went to another area, and found an area I'd never been before. Why did I change my mind? I have no idea.
Let's go.
Search and rescue expert Roy Davidson seems to be being led by fate to a certain point in the mountains.
I had no intention of being in that area whatsoever. I changed my plans 5 times to end up where I was. When I got down into the bottom of the valley, that's where I changed my mind again.
Let's go. Come on. Come on.
I just looked over and I saw the quad. And it looked like somebody underneath it.
Oscar, come on.
I'm on search and rescue, and about a year earlier we'd had a search. We'd been looking for a missing hunter on a quad. We found this fellow, and he was underneath the quad, and he was dead.
Oscar. 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 Oscar.
It was exactly the same scene. I figured there was probably somebody pinned under there that was probably dead.
Hello? I'd heard something, and is my mind playing tricks on me, or is this real?
Are you all right?
Did I go to sleep? Am I dreaming, or? I thought I was seeing things. I thought I was hallucinating. I said, oh boy, you know, this is getting really severe. Is it real?
What's your name? Ken Hildebrand.
I felt blessed. I felt lucky to be alive. I don't have to say goodbye to my family. The relief of like when they lifted the quad off of me, it was fantastic. You know, I just can't describe how great it felt, but it was short-lived.
Come on.
I tried to move my legs, and then I realized that I couldn't move my legs.
When he first told me that he'd been there for 4 days and 3 nights, I didn't believe it. He was very calm. He was very businesslike. He knew what he had to do. He thought his legs, or at least one leg, was broken.
What were you doing out here?
That was probably a place where the quad wheel was sitting on his leg and the flesh was frozen.
I'm just gonna put this on. You've done that before.
I knew that for 2 days I didn't go to the bathroom anymore. I knew that, you know, I could have liver damage, I could have kidney damage.
I think the reason that Ken survived is he's tough. He's one tough dude.
Roy has to get Ken to hospital as soon as possible.
I tried to be as careful as possible driving out of there. It was pretty rough. There was no road. It was just up the bottom of the valley. And his leg was starting to hurt him.
It was probably hitting the bumps and stuff where I felt circulation going into parts of my legs and that I could actually feel. And it's ironically that the pain actually felt good. I don't know how to explain it. It just, I wasn't down, but I wasn't, you know, jumping for joy like you think a person might. Because I knew I was still alive, but I knew I had a ways to go yet before I was out of the woods. How far, I wasn't sure. And I knew I wouldn't know until I was in the hospital.
Surgeons fought to save Ken's right leg, but eventually they had to amputate, leaving him with a prosthetic limb and his weaker polio leg. But with the same determination that he had as a child, Ken is walking again.
I had no doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to walk again. I'm going to walk. It's not just you that has to survive, it's your whole family that has to deal with the issues that come up, and if you love each other, you'll make it through it.